Hi, welcome to Math for All. Today we're going to be looking at multiplying two binomials. We're so used to multiplying numbers without really addressing their signs. What we have to keep in mind is that when we're talking about a number, there is an invisible sign in front of it. For example, if I was to say 3 times 2, the actual what really happens is we're multiplying positive 3 by positive 2, and so the answer is positive 6. Oftentimes we just disregard those signs, but being very specific in math, we have to understand that what we talk about will actually have an impact on our answer. And so keep in mind that when we multiply numbers that have the same signs, so positive times positive, it will produce a positive answer. We already know that. Also keep in mind that when we multiply negative by negative, we also get a positive answer. If the signs are the same, our answer will always be positive. If the signs are opposite, it's the negative that dominates. Again, positive times negative or negative times positive will produce a negative answer. Let's take a look at our first example. We have two brackets that get multiplied by each other. And so, what do? Well, the important thing is to keep in mind what happens when we multiply just regular numbers instead of x's and other numbers mixed into it. Let's take a look at a different example before we come back to this one. Let's try this example. 4 minus 2 times 6 plus 1. We can do it in two different ways. What we're used to is that we're used to doing brackets first. And so we will solve what's inside the bracket first. So 4 minus 2 gives us 2. And 6 plus 1 gives us 7. So it's the same as doing the following. 2 times 7, which gives us 14. Next. The other way of doing this is that we can take our first number, multiply it by this number, and the second number. And then that number gets multiplied by this number, and that one. Keep in mind when you're multiplying the second number, that the negative is part of that number. So this is actually a negative number. And let's see what happens. Let's see if we get the same answer. So we're trying to get an answer of 14. Let's see if that's going to be true. 4 times 6 gives us 24. 4 times 1 is 4. So 4 means positive 4. So I'm going to write positive 4. Negative 2 times 6 is a negative 12. And negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 24 plus 4 is 28. 28 minus 12 is 16. 16 minus 2 is 14. So we can see that we can use two different methods of coming up with the same solution. The reason we're going to use the second method, which is this method, is because we actually cannot subtract 4 from an unknown number. And so we're forced to use this method to come up with our solution. So let's apply this to this question right here. So we're going to follow the same method. First number gets multiplied by everything inside of this bracket, which means x gets multiplied by 2x as well as by 1. And then negative 4 multiplies by 2x and by positive 1. What do we get? X times 2x produces 2x squared. X times x is x squared. X times positive 1 gives us x. Negative 4 times 2x is negative 8x. And then negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Let's combine like terms together. We can see that there's only one of a kind for x squared numbers. So we're going to leave that separate. Number 4 is there by itself, so we can leave that separate, but these two are the same, and we can actually combine them together. If we have 1x minus 8x's. How many x's do we have? Well, 1 minus 8 is negative 7. So this part will be equal to negative 7x. So our solution is 2x squared minus 7x minus 4 is the answer. That's it. Okay, let's look at the following example. If we have an expression inside a bracket that's squared, we have to simplify it first. So I would suggest writing it out as if you had two brackets. We remember that whatever the number is, when it's squared, it just tells us that the number gets multiplied by itself. So in this case, we're multiplying this by itself. So we get 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. Okay, and now we can actually expand and simplify. How do we expand and simplify? Well, again, we multiply the first number by everything within that bracket, the second number by everything that's inside of this bracket. What do we get? 3x times 3x. I put sign times. 3x times 3x gives us 9x squared. 3x times 2 is simply 6x. 2 times 3x is also 6x. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so the next step is for us to actually combine like terms. The only thing we can combine are our x's. So this stays the same, and this also stays the same. So we get 9x squared plus 12x plus 4. Next example. If you were to apply our example to real life, if we have an unknown number that gets added to a number that we already know, and we know that this is the length of the one side, and that same number, right, x represents a specific number, and that same number multiplies by 3 added to 1 represents the length of another side. How do we express this in a form of an area, as well as how do we find its perimeter? Okay, so we have two questions in one. Let's address the area question first. In order to find the area of a rectangle, the equation is we take the length and we multiply it by its width. Excuse me. Length times width. If the length is 3x plus 1, we have to put it all in brackets. That separates it from our next expression. So area, and then your width is x plus 2. What do we get? We multiply our first number by everything within that bracket, and then the second number by everything inside that bracket. What do we get? 3x times x gives us 3x squared. 3x times 2 is 6x. 1 times x is x, and 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, what we need to do next is we need to combine like terms together. And so what we're going to do is we'll combine the 6x and the x because they have the same type of an expression. So in this case, 3x squared stays as is. The 6x plus x, how many x's do we have now? We have 7 x's. So we have 7x plus 2. And that's our final answer. Okay? If we're looking at the perimeter of this question, we need to, again, consider that these two sides are the same. Now these two sides are also going to be the same. The equation for the perimeter of a rectangle, or any shape, in fact, is that we have to add up all the sides. What we're going to do is we'll take 3x plus 1. We're going to add it to the x plus 2. We don't have to put any brackets. And then we can add going to do it down here. I'm going to add 3x plus 1 and again x plus 2. Let's combine all like terms together. So we're going to put all x's side by side. I'm going to say 3x plus x plus 3x plus x. Okay, plus our numbers. I'm running out of space, so I'm going to do it over here. So plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2. Okay, and the end result is 3x. When you add up all the x's together, you're going to get 8x plus, that gives us 6.